Hello everyone, welcome to the 5th in my series of learning Vedic astrology, astrology basics. This time we're looking at the planets in astrology. A lot of secrets, a lot of depth to be done, but I hope we're going to make it easy for you. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to sub below, and if the video is good, of course, give it a thumbs up. Let's go. So it's lesson 5 in my series. We're looking at the planets grahas, how we can understand them in our chart. Very important though that if you've not caught up with lessons 1 to 4, you will need to understand those concepts to actually make sense of what I'm going to be talking about here. So check those out as well. The link is below for you. In this lesson, I'm going to learn who are these 9 planets in Vedic astrology. How do we recognize them in our charts, and what do they tell us about our karmas and our destiny? First question we need to ask ourselves, though, in this lesson is how many planets, everyone, are we going to use Vedic astrology? Here's a typical set of planets used in Western astrology, modern Western astrology, and there's more. There is unlimited, let's say, object in space that have got themselves into astrological birth charts now. We don't need any of those. You see, we are concerned with the grahas, planets which are carrying our karmas. In true Jyotish, just like the medieval Western astrologers, we don't need Uranus, we don't need Neptune, we don't need Pluto. Anything beyond here, beyond Saturn, is not necessary. Why? Because Saturn is the boundary of our karmic experience in this Bhuloka, on this earth plane. If you come from the Western astrology system, I was there, you might find it hard to begin with. I want Uranus, Neptune, Pluto in my chart. No, you don't need them. They do not rule signs. They are not grahas. They are not bringing you personal destiny or karma. So what does this word graha mean, everybody? It means to grasp, to hold. Planets are, metaphysically speaking, grasping us, holding us, pulling us in a certain direction. Now, be very clear, we're not talking about some physical phenomena. We're not talking about the actual physical planets here, that there is some, say, gravitational pull, some measurable, empirical, scientific factor there. That's not happening. You see, Western astrologers have tried for so long, particularly modern Western astrologers, to explain astrology scientifically. They can see it's working, but they just don't know how. So let's listen to what Sage Parashara has to say just a little bit. Sage Parashara says that Vishnu, that means God, takes the form of the 9 grahas to give the jivas, souls, living beings, the results of their karmas. Now we can take 2 things from this, everybody. First of all, astrology links us to God, links us to the divine, connects us most definitely. That's the first important understanding. Secondly, we as jivas have karmas, actions which we have performed, and we are going to see the results of them mapped out in the astrological charts. And of course, the obvious implication is that these karmas, these actions, karma means action, was performed past life, because a newborn baby hasn't performed any actions. So this whole birth chart, every graha shows us results directly of past situations, past karmas. So all the good, all the bad, all the difficulty, all the struggle, all the blessings are coming from our own actions. So it certainly helps you to do good astrology to have a little bit of understanding about reincarnation, rebirth, or at least attempting to find out about it. Of course, you could do astrology without even having any understanding or, if you like, belief in this factor, reincarnation. You could do that, of course you could. And you could even make predictions. But here's the thing. In my opinion, that would be a very dry, almost soulless astrology. And for one thing, you would definitely miss many important understandings. That said, everyone, let's learn the names of the 7 visible grahas and the shadow grahas. Now, these names, here's a little secret, are divine. They are linking us to a very divine vibration. They are having a special blessing. So try to learn these names. Try to use these Vedic names of all the grahas. They are actually very, very high vibration and helpful when we are doing astrology. So the sun is Surya, moon Chandra, Mercury Buddha, Venus Sukra, Mars Mangala, Jupiter Guru, and Saturn Shani. Rahu is a name for the north node of the moon, mathematical point but hugely karmic, a definite graha, and Ketu, the south node of the moon. Very briefly though, before I go into individual planets, there are just one or two key factors that I have to explain to you so everything's going to make sense. First thing, benefic versus malefic planets. Benefic means bringing helpful, good things to us. Malefic means more challenging, difficult circumstances. Every planet is one or the other. We have to understand this. For example, Venus is a benefic planet, SUKRA is benefic, Saturn Shani is malefic, and they will always be so, even though in certain charts, I'm not going to speak about this now, this is a complete beginner's video, but you will find out that in certain circumstances, benefics can become not so benefic for you, not so good for you, and malefics can become not so damaging. There are those circumstances, but they still keep their basic nature. That's the thing. Now, home versus office sign, office or multicone sign. This is quite important. Planets own signs. We've talked about this. They are lords of signs. For example, Mars, Mangala, he's the lord of Aries and Scorpio signs. However, Aries is not his home. It's his office, his multicone sign. And that's a whole different ballgame. What's the difference? Well, just like everybody, home is where you can relax, be yourself, right? Hopefully. So Mangala, when he's in Scorpio, he's in the underground bunker, if you like. He's an army general. He's in the underground bunker because that's where scorpions live, under the ground. He's hidden, he's secure. He can take off his armor, take off his shoes, put down the weapons and just plan. It's a very secretive, powerful place, Scorpio. So that is Mangala's home, but his office is the castle or the fort, which is Aries, where he can fight the enemy from a very high, good vantage point. He can do his job. So in the case of Mangala, Mars, then he lords both Scorpio and Aries, but Scorpio he feels most comfortable, most at ease, but he gets his job done to a high capacity in Aries multicone sign. And the same is true for every planet. They have a home sign and a multicone office sign. You could say, well, can't they work from home? Yes, indeed. One planet does, as we're going to see. Next, Guna. Now, this is a very yogic or Vedic understanding. Guna simply means mode of nature. It is like a mood. You know how we all change our mood. Sometimes you're feeling happy, contented. That would be Tattva. Sometimes you are full of passion, desire, got to get some work done, got to do stuff, right? That is Rajas. Sometimes you just want to lie around all day, do nothing. You're feeling depressed or feeling angry, bad emotions. That is Tamas. And these moods apply to all living beings, the animals, ourselves, and the grahas. Sattva is a mood of godliness. Rajas, material desire, greed if you like. Tamas, ignorance or violence, just lashing out, right? So generally speaking, every planet graha has a dominant guna. That's the thing that we need to understand as we go through. Next, everyone, the word Karaka, very important in Vedic astrology. It is the hand of God. God created everything and every single experience we could have, every single object, person, relationship, every part of nature, everything existing here is seen in these 9 grahas. There would be an unlimited list if we were to list them. It would never end. But every planet has a major Karaka that is showing the essence of that graha. And I'm going to show you those plus some other key factors. Now, there are 5 elements which are represented in each of these grahas. Western astrology will be familiar here, but we have 5 elements, not 4. So we have earth, heavy energy, prithvi, fire, agni, burning energy, water, jala, flowing energy or emotional energy, wind, vayu, fast, moving but drying energy, and ether, akash, the finest of all. So the basics then of every single planet graha in Vedic astrology. By the way, if you don't have your own Vedic chart, please check the link below to the website Deva Guru, put in your birth data and bring up your chart. Let's go. First, the sun. As we see, sun is known as Surya, and he is a malefic planet. Definitely malefic because he can be punishing, although he has high moral code. His home sign is Leo, and his office, Multrikone, is also Leo. Why? Because he's the king, as we're going to see, and the king works from home, works from his palace. His element is fire, energy, male, and Guna is sattvic or purity. The main karaka for the sun is the soul. The sun represents Atman, spiritual self, who we are. So our sole purpose can be seen in the chart from the sun most definitely. The symbols for the sun are as shown here. Vedic astrology tends to use the letters very, very simply like this, although this is the scientific symbol for the sun. It's an actual scientific symbol, but it also shows eternity and the soul in the middle, you could say. So Western astrology tends to use these symbols more than just this. I actually like these symbols very much, and I still use them for my own notes, so it's good to know them. In addition, when we see the sun in our chart, everyone, some of the further karakas, just a few are here. The sun represents the king, ruler in any situation, prime minister, whatever it is, or boss or superior, anybody with authority over you. The sun is father, definitely. Major karaka for father, biological father, not stepfather. Sun rules all government departments, dharma, righteous action, good action, things which benefit society, all sorts of power. People who have power over you, but your own power as well. The sun is systematic, ordered, rising, setting on time. So are you punctual? Are you ordered? Or are you chaotic? It's all seen by the sun. The sun definitely has to do with wealth, resources of this world. How many resources will you gather? How will you get them? Many planets have to do with wealth, but the sun is primary. Don't forget this. Sun brings us resources. How do we get them? I'm going to show you a very good example in a minute. Creativity. Sun is all sorts of creative power and success generally. Final factor about the sun, I just want to point this out, everyone, that the sun is a burning planet. He can burn up the house sign where he is as well, but he gives his beneficent rays on the 7th house, the opposite sign to where he is. Something important to check in your chart. Where he is can be burning. 7th aspect, though, he can give many beneficent factors connected to all of these things in that house. Let's see the sun in Marilyn Monroe's chart. After each planet, we're going to do this to continue with the learning. So where is the sun, everyone? Can you see? Yes, the sun is here. The sun is in the 11th house of the chart here and in Taurus sign. If that is confusing you, then you need to check out the earlier videos to catch up with the learning. Then you can come back, of course. Now, the sun is in Taurus sign. Sun in Taurus, of course, very often gives wealth, abundance, or some material security, success, because that's what Taurus is all about. Thing is, though, here it's especially favorable. 2 things. First of all, it's in the 11th house of gain. Secondly, Sun is the second lord. Sun represents wealth, resources anyway in this Cancer horoscope. So definitely she's going to get wealth gain. But how does she get it? By her own effort, because 11th house is about earnings. Oh, how did she get the wealth, though? What did she do? Sun's beneficent rays go on to the fifth house of acting, creativity, house of all artistic skill, particularly dramatic art. It's the natural house of Leo. So she's getting acting talent, getting success with it. But something else I will just touch on. Sun is powerful people in authority. They are promoting her, helping her. But sometimes, though, there's a bit of difficult burning here. Why? Because Mercury, we're going to come back to Buddha in a minute, is here with the Sun. Now, there's a lot to see here, everybody. I'm trying to keep it to the basics, what I've already shown you. Mercury rules Gemini. Gemini is the 12th house. Here we can see Gemini. It rules bed pleasures, sexuality, loss in a way. And Mercury Buddha has gone all the way here. He's gone 12th to himself. He's behind the house. Loss. She has to give, lose something about bed pleasures, sexuality to get gain. Because gain is this 11th house Taurus. Who to? To the Sun. Who is the Sun? Powerful people. So she gets help, promotion from successful people, powerful people shown by the Sun, but she has to give something, lose something there. Very, very common phenomena in Hollywood circles for women. I think it still might be the case. I don't know, but there it is in the chart. Next, the moon, known as Chandra, a definite benefic planet, but most benefic when he is going towards full, not new moon. That's another thing that we shall see later on. Home is Cancer sign, office Multicone, work sign Taurus. So moon rules both Cancer and Taurus sign. Element Tattva, water, Jala, flowing, emotional. Energy female, deity male, but the energy is a female energy. Guna, sattvic, purity. Karaka, the mind. Moon is Manas, the mind. And the symbol, we can see them here. The moon is the mother, your biological mother, by the way, who gave birth to you. Even if you didn't know her or she died when you were born, she's still shown by the moon in your chart. Adoptive mother, foster mother, see, 6th house lord. And I will speak more in a minute with another planet. Nurture, definitely. How were you nurtured by your mother? Were you bonded to her? It's all shown by the moon. How do you nurture others? That is shown by the moon. Early childhood as well. Food in your life. Is it good for you, bad for you? Do you have a food problem? It's shown by the moon. Home, domesticity, emotion. Do you show emotion, repress emotion, use emotional expression well? Or are you basically challenged in your emotional expression? So much depth there. Check the moon. Longevity. Now, why is this? Because the moon is the physical body. Why? Because the body was formed in the womb of the mother. One of the factors about longevity is the condition of the moon in your chart. But please remember, there are so many other factors. It is only the beginning. Family of origin. How do you connect to them? And society in general. Are you a sociable person or not? That's all shown by the moon in your chart. I'll just add one other factor here, everybody. I'm not going to put it up on the screen, write it in, but the moon is your personality changing throughout life. So if you want to know somebody's personality, we don't look to the sun so much soul, because that's a much more hidden, in-depth, permanent factor, lifetime after lifetime. That's our spiritual self. It doesn't come out as personality so much. In a way it does, but not in the way of the moon. The moon shows our deep mind nature, how we experience life, what we like, what we don't like, what we are thinking about all the time. That's our mind. That is the moon. Now, Marilyn Monroe's chart was the moon. Well, it stands out, doesn't it? The moon is here in the 7th house of the chart, and it's also in the sign of Capricorn. This is not a good placement for the moon. It's Saturn's sign. Makes her depressed, emotionally repressed a bit, but a very sensitive person because the moon is the lord of her chart. So it's a difficult position for the moon. Now, this moon is very afflicted. We've spoken about it before, haven't we? But not so much this aspect. See, the moon is surrounded by malefic planets. KETU behind the moon here. Mars in front of the moon. It's called papakatari. We shall speak about these in later videos. It means there's a malefic affliction to the moon, squeezing the moon. So she is already emotionally sensitive, very vulnerable, but there are difficult karmas, circumstances connected to all of the moon factors in her life. Now, such an afflicted moon is going to affect relationship with the mother. As I've just shown you, moon is a mother. Her mother was a schizophrenic. She couldn't bond with her daughter really, and even then she had to give her up when she was a child, basically a very, very young child, an infant, I think. Marilyn Monroe went into adoption situations, foster care, where there was a lot of abuse. Now, the moon is placed in the 7th house of relationships. So not only is she emotionally suffering here, having this papakatari, difficult mothering circumstances, insecurity, lack of nurture, it's going to impact her intimate spousal relationships. See, moon in Capricorn can be a little bit cold, emotionally repressed. So was she the one who was cold, or was it partners? Probably a little bit of both, but I would say primarily her. How can I say that? She was becoming that way because the moon is the lord of the ascendant from Cancer. So she is becoming cold, distant, changeable as well, because the moon is always changing in her intimate relationships. She had 3 marriages, and actually one of them hardly lasted any time at all. So quick changing circumstances in her intimate spousal situation is definitely shown. Next, Mercury, known as Buddha. Now, just one thing to say, if you've come from the Western astrology system and you're now learning Vedic, you will find a lot different about many things, but especially about Mercury. So check this out carefully. Mercury is a benefic planet by his nature, definitely brings good stuff, but check out, he is, according to his influence, benefic or not. He can be malefic. How does he become malefic? When he is with malefic planets. This mostly means being in the same sign as Mercury. So malefics like Mars with Mercury, same sign and house, Saturn, Rahu, Ketu, even aspecting sometimes. We'll see that all later video. But these malefics being with Mercury changes nature. He becomes more devious, even crafty. You might become this way, or it could be other people in your life. It all depends where these conjunctions take place. So Mercury's changeable. He's like a child. He is so influenced by the other people around him, susceptible to others' influence. Now, Mercury's home sign, where he's most comfortable, is Gemini. Office sign, the way he does all of his work, is Virgo. So he rules Gemini and Virgo. But be clear, his Tattva element is earth, not air. So Western astrology sees Mercury differently. He is definitely ruling the earth element. He is totally about nature. I'll speak more in a minute. He's an interesting planet because his energy is neutral. He is neither male nor female. That's a very interesting factor. And his Guna is Rajas, though passion. There are only 2 planets who are Rajastic, very materialistic, very about doing stuff in this world, a little bit greedy. And they are Mercury and Venus. Mercury's Karaka is speech. He rules all communication, and these are his symbols in the chart. Now, Mercury is the planet who is money. He is the money in your purse, the money in your bank, how you deal with money, everything about counting up the money, wasting the money, spending the money. It's all to do with Mercury. And business. Are you a good business person? Check Mercury. Communication of every sort is Mercury Buddha, including writing as well. And Mercury is a very humorous planet. If you're a good comedian, if you can tell jokes, you'll have a strong Mercury, I promise you. He's a very witty planet, highly intelligent, intelligence, ability to study. All of this is definitely shown by Mercury. Mercury is all about travel and journeys. Do you travel well or not? Do you enjoy traveling? Check your Mercury. He's about your network, friendship groups. Do you have many friends? Few friends? Do you have problems with them? Check Mercury as well. He's about youthfulness, staying young in yourself, not just how you look. Check Mercury again. And of course, he's about nature. And this is the thing. Mercury rules nature, rules the earth. All the green fields, that's his colour by the way, green, all the trees, all the plants and the wild animals. This is Mercury. And he's a Karaka for sister as well in a chart. Let's see Mercury, Marilyn Monroe's chart. Can you see? Yes, Mercury is up here in the 11th house. We talked about Mercury when we saw the sun before, because Mercury is very close by degree to the sun. Now, we haven't done aspects, but when a malefic planet is with Mercury, I've just explained, he becomes not quite so favorable. Although the Sun Mercury has a specific factor which is mixed. So this Mercury is most definitely impacting her relationships to her friends because, can you see everyone, it is in the 11th house of friendship and it's in Taurus. It's a business planet. She's going to have certain amount of business skill though. That can be good. Now, because Mercury is with a malefic and because he rules not so favorable houses, check last video for Cancer Ascendant, he rules 3rd house speech, communication itself, and 12th house loss. He's going to give her a certain amount of fame, success, with her speech, but there's going to be difficulty, something special but challenging about her speech. So Mercury being afflicted like this with a malefic can become difficult. Of course, she could have had difficulties with her friends. Maybe she had envious friends and she gave a lot of money away to friends. How can we see? Mercury lords loss, house of loss, 12th house, and she's giving away who to her friends, another factor. But her speech, she had a speech impediment. She had a stutter actually. You would never know it listening to her speak in her film. But what she did effectively, she hid it in that very slow, sensual, slightly lisping voice that made her absolutely famous. Check it out. Next planet, Venus, known as SUKRA, a definite benefic planet. Venus's home is Taurus, office sign Libra, Multicone. So Venus rules both Taurus and Libra. Element water, emotion, of course. Energy, female. Sukra's energy is female, though he is male entity. Guna, rajas, passion, desire. The Karaka for Venus is ojas, like a juice of life, factor of vitality in our material bodies. Young people have lots of this, lots of vitality, older people less, and it keeps us healthy as well. So Venus has a lot to do with health, by the way. Symbols are shown here. But Venus is about love. We all know this. What sort of love? Not motherly love, not anything else, not universal love. No. Venus is about sexual desire, attraction, falling in love primarily. So, do you fall in love a lot? Do you have compulsive love? Do you have infatuations? Do you have difficulty with your love affairs? Romance? How romantic are you? All of these things can be shown by Venus. Also beauty. Venus is all about how good looking you are. Venus connected to the ascendant in any way can make you very attractive. Venus is more about sexuality than Mars. In the Western system, again, I have to come back to this. People think Mars, Mangala, is about sex attraction. He isn't. He's about fighting all of that. He doesn't want that. He's a warrior, as we'll see. He's about celibacy. Venus is about sex. Venus is about desire. Let's be very clear so we can do good astrology. So Venus is about having babies, procreation. That's his major job description. And he rules the wife in a male chart. He's about wealth, luxury as well, and very much art. He's about talent in any artistic system, arts, music, and appreciation for them as well. And also, I said I would mention this, Venus also sometimes signifies adoptive or foster mother, substitute mother, where it is actually occurring in the life. Now, Venus in Marilyn Monroe's chart, already circled it. It is in the 10th house of her chart, everyone, in Aries. We've spoken about Venus before, haven't we, earlier videos? It's not well placed in a fire sign. Venus is Jala, water. When Venus is in any fire sign, that means Aries, as here, Leo, or Sagittarius, he's getting burned up. Passion and desire mixed up with fire. So many love affairs, but they can burn out quickly. That could be seen, and that was definitely the case in Marilyn Monroe's life. Furthermore, spoken about it before, Venus lords 4th house, mother, and it's gone 7th to itself, that is weak. And Venus looks back at Saturn. There's a separation from mother. It's gone far away. Mother has gone far away from her child. In addition, generally Venus is Karaka for adoptive or foster mother, which she had. But opposing Saturn, that was not nurturing either for her. However, of course, Venus being in the 10th house, it was her gorgeousness, beauty, her sex appeal, all of these things that made her famous. This is the actual house of status and success. Next planet is Mars, Mangala, a most definite malefic planet whose home is in Scorpio. We've just discussed all about Mangala early on in the video. Check it out. His home is in Scorpio, but his office, Multicomb, where he gets his work done, is in Aries, and he rules both. His element Tattva, fire, energy, male, and Guna, tamas. Why? Because he is about killing, violence, and war. But his Karaka is strength, because Mars gives courage and resilience. Don't forget, and these are the symbols of Mangala in your charts. Mars is a god of war, so he's definitely about the army, about fighting, and he's also about police force, security forces, everything about keeping the nation safe and the family safe. This is what he cares about, security, safety, but he's a fighter first and foremost. So wherever Mars is in our chart, there's a tendency for conflict to be there. In some charts, that area can become a virtual war zone. That can be seen. Mars is about anger, you see. Negatively, it can overtake us. Can we control anger? Does it control us? All of this can be seen by Mars. Do we suppress anger? Do we hide it? All of these things, check Mars carefully. Mars can show violent factors, violent circumstances, violence to us or our violence to other people. It can show accidents coming into our experience. But also Mars shows discipline, where we are disciplined, in control of ourselves. Strong Mars, well placed. This can definitely be there. Mars shows courage, though. Positively, he has tremendous courage. He can give his life for other people. He can give his life for his country, all of these things. So courage, daring, risk-taking, this is all Mangala. But also Mangala is celibacy. Here's the thing. Western astrology sees Mangala as about sexual desire. He is not. That is Venus. We have to see this correctly. Mars promotes celibacy, or he wants celibacy. That's the thing. Why? Because he's a fighter. To become a good fighter, you have to be celibate. So When Mars is afflicted, particularly with Venus, he can get into all sorts of sexual conflicts, and he is not happy with that situation. There can be love affairs, there can be excess there, because Mars has got himself into a situation he can't control. He doesn't like it. There can be extra marital affairs. Mars-Venus is never an easy situation. And Mars is Karaka for the brother. We find Mars in the 8th house of her chart, everyone, in the sign of Aquarius. Now, Mars is very potent in this 8th house because 8th house is natural Scorpio house and Mars rules Scorpio. Hope you're following me here. Basically, it's a Dustana suffering house though, and it gives sudden effect. And Mars is about accidents, mishaps, all of those things. So they are definitely going to come into her life, conflict, etc., in the areas ruled by Mars. Now, what houses does Mangala rule in the chart, everyone? Just to get you on board so you're all engaged here, don't fall asleep. What houses does Mangala rule in Marilyn Monroe's chart? I hope you got it. The 10th house, Aries, career house, and the 5th house, creativity, ruled by Scorpio, correct? Therefore, Mangala gone to this difficult Dustana house affects affairs of children in her life, affairs to do with creativity, acting, etc., and education. It's gone 4 houses away though. Last lesson we learned, didn't we? That's a favourable thing, everyone. So she did engage in some education, learning 5th house about acting, and that was definitely helpful to her. Now, Mars gone to the 8th house, challenging having children or with them. Thing is, she didn't have any kids, and there was a definite reason shown in the chart. First of all, Mars is with Guru Jupiter. We're going to have a look at Guru next bit of this video. She had a very painful long-term health condition that affected her conceiving children. Or rather, didn't stop her conceiving, but had an effect on carrying a child full term. Now, she also had many abortions. Mars has gone to the 8th house, and the 8th house is about surgical intervention. Mars is about a knife, don't forget as well. I didn't really mention that, but you get the idea. So she had abortions, and the 8th house shows secrecy there because at the time that was illegal activity. But Mangala is career reputation. Now from here, 10th house, he has gone 11 houses away. We learned last lesson that can be challenging. Further thing is, 11th house is what we call Hara Bhava, the end of the house. So the end of her career happened suddenly, fast, not expected to happen, because that is what the 8th house is about. So what transformation happened then? Because 8th house is about change, transformation of her career, because Mars is the Lord. 10th house, everybody gone here. Did she decide to become business person, change from acting, do something different? No, simply she died. Now, she died in quite mysterious, strange circumstances, actually. And there's been so much speculation, even conspiracy theory about, did she commit suicide? Was it an accident? Was she killed even? And personally, I can see from even this chart, it was not likely to have been suicide, okay, deliberate. So it might have been an accident. She might have been killed. So we're going to have to look at this. We're going to have to consider it carefully, even from birth chart, later in this series. Why? Because interestingly, she died in a Mangala period, Mars Dasha period. Not surprisingly, Vedic astrology, we can time these dangerous events. That is what we are going to learn all about in this series. Next, let's find out about Jupiter, known as Guru in the Vedic system. Totally benefic, perhaps the most benefic of all the planets. His home sign is Pisces, where he meditates by the sea, but his office, where he gets his work done, strangely enough, is the battlefield of Sagittarius. More on that in a minute. His element is ether, finest of all, energy, male, and Guna, sattvic, purity. His Karaka is bliss. What sort of bliss? Bliss of knowledge, wisdom, which satisfies the soul. And his symbol are shown here in your horoscope. Now, Guru itself, the word means teacher. So, if you are a teacher, want to teach, Jupiter should be strong in your chart. He loves to teach and he loves to learn. But he's about divine wisdom, spirituality. Jupiter connects us directly to God. He is God working in our chart. He is a big secret. The place where we have Jupiter, we get divine intervention. We get grace. We get mercy, we get help there. Why? Because we have done good deeds, and some of our good deeds are coming to protect us, but also God himself. Divine intervention can happen. Last minute miracles happen wherever we have Jupiter in our chart. Check it out. Jupiter's about all philosophy, deep understandings, and all religious system, where he gives knowledge of the meaning of this material situation. He's about education, definitely, and he's about children. So he's about educating children more than anything at all. He is abundance, definitely. Wealth, but the wealth we get from Jupiter depends totally on our past life deeds. He gives a certain amount of destined wealth that is shown by Guru in our chart. He's the planet of peace, but he goes to war because Sagittarius, the battlefield, is his Multricone office. What's going on? You see, everybody, a big secret about Guru is that he can be angry. He can be more angry than any other Graha, even the Mangala, because he gets deeply angry, disturbed when there is unrighteous action, unethical action. So to get the blessings of Guru, we have to try to be ethical. That's so important. Obviously, he will give us wisdom. He will give us insight so that we keep on this ethical path. Therefore, all of Guru's blessings eventually are bound to come to us. And he is husband in a female chart. Let's see Jupiter, everybody, in Marilyn Monroe's chart. We've just mentioned him, of course. He is here in the 8th house of her chart and in the sign of Aquarius with Mars. This is a difficult placement. Jupiter in Aquarius is challenging in itself, but the 8th house makes it doubly so. So for all the significators of Jupiter, there's going to be some challenge in this chart. Now, Jupiter's Karaka for husband, Karaka for children, Karaka for education. And with all of these things, she had difficulty, as we're going to see. But let's start with the houses lauded by Jupiter, because to understand Jupiter, he will also show end result of the houses ruled. What 2 houses in her chart, everyone, does Guru rule? Shout them out. I hope you got it. Yes, Sagittarius, the 6th house of health, pets, conflicts, difficulty and service, and the 9th house of father, foreign land, higher education, religion, etc. Let's start with the 6th house, health issues. As I've just said, Jupiter is with Mangala. She had a painful condition, health issue that became chronic, because this house is about long-term chronic health conditions. Marilyn Monroe clearly suffered from what we would now know and definitely diagnose as endometriosis, a very painful inflammation of the uterus. And this chronic condition, don't forget Jupiter here means chronic disease, entailed her taking pharmaceuticals, drugs, painkillers, all sorts of things to which she became addicted. Now, Guru rules 9th house, and as we've just seen, he's gone 12 houses away here. So aspects of this ninth house, higher education, gurus, learning, religiosity is not so good because 12 houses shows loss here. She did not have a higher academic education, but that was not unusual for females then. Second thing is biological father definitely impacted here. Biological father was unknown to her for some time, and even when she actually knew who he was, she could definitely not have any meaningful relationship. So loss connected by this 12th house placement to the house of Guru in her chart. As I say, Jupiter Karaka for the husband female chart. She had 3 marriages and 3 divorces. None of those relationships. Of course, why that happened, we have to see 7th house Lord situation, all of that we have looked at a little bit in this series bit by bit. So check that out. But the thing is, of course, Jupiter is a blessing. Jupiter does come back to support, and one of her husbands, a middle husband, Joe DiMaggio, the famous baseball player, kept on coming back. Even at the end of her life, he was there supporting her in the background. That is interesting, I think, by this secretive 8th house placement. Next, Saturn, known as Shani, is a malefic planet. His home is Capricorn and his office work multicone sign is Aquarius. 2 strong signs he rules, and he has strength in either of these signs. His element Tattva is wind or Vayu, energy male, and Guna tamas. You see, Saturn's major Karaka is sorrow. It has to be said, Saturn brings sadness, difficulty, brings those big karmic challenges coming to us, and his symbols can be seen here. Now, Saturn is perhaps the most feared planet, feared because he brings back to us past life debt. He actually brings to us results of our papa karma, sinful karma. We have to say it like it is. There's no getting away from this. We have to accept these realities of life. Nobody lives a life without some loss, suffering. But where will you suffer difficulty? You have to see the house and the sign of Saturn in your chart. But let's keep it in perspective, because Saturn is time. He has all the time in the world to teach us hard lessons, but he gives reward in the end. You see, I'm going to go through all of these, but Saturn's biggest reward is long life. You have to have a strong Saturn to live a long time, and you have to go through a lot of stuff as well. What do they say? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. This is definitely true of Shani. So Shani's greatest blessing is long life. A, because we can burn off all those negative karmas, better here than elsewhere. Let me just say that. And secondly, because we have the opportunity to do good deeds in this human form. What an opportunity, because only by these deeds can we assure future happiness. Oh, check the house and sign. Where is Saturn in your chart? Limitation is there. Things take a long time. There is delay. There is structure because you learn to be patient. Hopefully that's the good stuff. You may have debt, suffering there. You may get depressed about these issues in your life. Sickness, perhaps also struggle. I didn't put it here, but Saturn is fear. You get fearful about this area of your life. But the good news, this depression, this fear, these feelings of limitation will lessen during your life. The older that you get, the better Saturn's area becomes. Let's see, Shani in Marilyn Monroe's chart stands out right in this 4th house, house of mother, early childhood. She's going to have sorrow, difficulty, restrictions there, most definitely. It's a very strong Saturn. Stronger is Saturn, more difficulty sometimes. Saturn is exalted sign, Libra. Talk about all of this next lesson. And he is retrograde again next lesson. So he is extremely strong planet here. And she had suffering sorrow. She was separated from her birth mother when she was a toddler, I think, or maybe a bit older. Mother couldn't bond with her. Mother had sickness, schizophrenia, mental health issues. She had no father around. She was given up for foster care, where she had many traumatic circumstances. Now, Saturn by aspect, though we haven't done it, I will just briefly say Saturn and Venus are looking at each other, and the Lord of this sign is Venus. So she puts all of this feeling of unhappiness, because this is a house of happiness. When Saturn is here, there's an inner feeling of depression, an inner feeling of restriction, many people. But she puts all of that into her career, into her prominence, into her love affairs, but that can cause disturbance. Saturn-Venus aspect means that she swings between hot and cold in her romantic relationships. Let's learn about Rahu, the north node of the moon, a mathematical point, but so significant, a graha, as we are going to see. By the way, Rahu is very mysterious because he is actually part of KETU. They are one beings, but now split in two. Learn more about that. Check the video on my channel, Rahu Karmas, all signs. The link is below. So Rahu, most certainly malefic, perhaps the most malefic planet of all. His home is Aquarius, office is Virgo, Multicone. So he rules both Aquarius and Virgo in your chart. Element Tattva, wind, Vayu, energy, male, and Guna is tamas, the mode of ignorance. Rahu's Karaka is illusion, all sorts of illusion. Primary illusion, Maya, that this material world is all there is, that we are a body, when we die, that's the end of it. That's the primary illusion. Maya, but many illusions, many deceptions. Rahu rules them all. Rahu's symbol is shown here in your horoscope. Apart from this illusion, though, Maya, Rahu is desire. The desire that has brought us all into this incarnation. Two things bring us here primarily, two grahas. Shani, so that we get result of our past difficult karmas. And Rahu, because we have unfulfilled desire. Of course, the biggest Maya of all illusion is that some desire, once fulfilled, is going to make us happy. It won't. Ultimately, nothing material satisfies us because we are spiritual beings. And this is the truth that Rahu wants to keep away. He is the enemy of Guru, the enemy of the divine Graha. So one desire fulfilled, we go on to another, thinking this is going to work this time. Insatiability is Rahu. He is greedy for everything. Wherever he is in your chart, you are never satisfied in that area. Check it out carefully. And Rahu rules shocks, unexpected experiences that shake us up again. Check the area of your chart where you have Rahu. Rahu puts you in touch with all sort of underground situations, people outside of society, criminals, etc. Or some charts you could take up this sort of behavior. Rahu tempts us to all sorts of unethical action. Watch out for that. Rahu rules all sorts of deception, underhand activities. We may be doing them, or people may be doing them, as it were, to us. There may be deception in the area where he's found in your chart. He rules drugs, pharmaceutical industry, and all sorts of medicines. He's outside of the border. This is a primary factor about Rahu. And by borders, we mean boundaries. Rahu doesn't believe in borders, boundaries. He has this illusion that if he can get rid of these, everything's going to be superb. You know, this is his biggest Maya. He doesn't like limitations. He hates limitations. That's the thing. So Rahu pushes out boundaries. As I say, he is totally revolutionary. And that's why he loves politics. Any sort of politics, whatever party, whatever country, He loves politics. So if you want to be good, if you want to do politics in your life, you better check that you have a strong Rahu. But of course, outside of the borders means foreign lands. Rahu takes us into foreign lands and he brings people connected from foreign lands into our experience, particularly in the area he is found in our chart or he aspects. We shall look at aspects later videos. Finally, Rahu is non-human beings. Why? Because he is an animal form. Rahu, Ketu were actually a snake form before they got split into two. As I say, you must definitely check out the video, Rahu Karmas in All Signs. Let's see the planet Rahu then in Marilyn Monroe's chart. Can you see where Rahu is? Yes, he is here. He is in the 12th house of her chart in the sign of Gemini. He's extremely strong, Rahu, though, because he is in an exaltation sign. He is exalted. What this means, we will discuss next video in a meaning of the strength of the planets. So what's the 12th house about? It's about secrecy, secret enemies. It's about bed pleasures, end of life, the deathbed itself. It's about monetary loss and foreign land, all of these things. Let's just unpick it a little bit here. Now, Rahu is the lord of the 8th house Aquarius, unexpected, sudden, dangerous factors, and it's gone into the house of the deathbed. Mysterious death, strange circumstances we have discussed. Rahu is the Karaka for poison and drugs, pharmaceuticals implemented in her death. Rahu is the Karaka for politicians. Also, there are some theories there, a lot to unpick, and we will definitely do this, future videos for certain. And it's the house of sleeping. Generally, of course, Rahu here, Malific, disturbs her sleep, definitely big time. And of course, she had to take sleeping pills. She was addicted to barbiturates to sleep. That was a definite factor for her. The 12th house is about bed pleasures. Rahu is here. Rahu is a malefic and insatiable. We have just discussed he would give a very strong sexual desire nature, but the Lord has gone 12th. This is not so helpful. So Buddha's position as this 12th house lord, dispositor of Rahu in this 11th house, we have discussed earlier on when we looked at Mercury. She gave away sexual pleasures to powerful people. That is clearly shown. So check out that again. And monetary factors as well. She was a very generous person. She gave away money because Mercury has gone to the 12th house to itself. She gave away gifts to friends big time. That is shown here by this position of Buddha. Finally, Rahu's second lordship is of which sign, everybody? Can you tell me? I want to bring you on board. Don't fall asleep. Yes, of Virgo, the 3rd house of communication. It's gone into the bed house. We could call this pillow talk. Pillow talk and secretive factors are strongly coming. It's an exalted Rahu who from potentially political secrets are coming to her. Check out what people have said about her death. Another big clue is definitely shown here. And finally, everybody, what a journey. We go to KETU, the south node of the moon, the other half of Rahu. He is a malefic planet as well, but the opposite in intention to Rahu. Check the video on my channel, KETU Karmas All Signs, because you have to learn quite a bit about who KETU is to really understand what he's doing in your chart. So KETU is the other half of Rahu. He represents body with no head, just as Rahu is head with no body. KETU's sign is Scorpio, his home sign, and his office is Pisces. His home is Scorpio because he knows all the secrets of the occult and he has to understand mysteries of life, but he gets his true work done in Pisces. Why? Because in Pisces, he takes us to final liberation, moksha. His element Tattva is fire, his energy male, and his Guna is ignorance or tamas. Why tamas? because he can be extremely violent. Ketu's Karaka is moksha, liberation from birth and death. He's the only planet that really takes us out of this material entanglement. Guru gives us wisdom, but Ketu lifts us out of it. It's a rare phenomena, but that is what he wants to do. That's his job description. And the symbols for Ketu in your chart, here they are. The thing to know about Ketu is, everyone, he is not interested in this material world. He is full stop not interested in anything material. So where you see Ketu in your chart, you're going to have material struggles. Things don't come together easily. Things don't work out. You become extremist there. You get fed up, frustrated, make mistakes, just can't deal with that situation easily. Materially, he can be a very aggravating planet, I have to say. Now, Ketu's connection to past life is very, very special. All the planets bring our past life karma, but Ketu is different. Ketu is like a wormhole in space. I like to think of him just like that. All of those time travel movies, yeah, where you go back in time. Well, he is that link, that wormhole, if you like, that will take us back into that past life situation. Bring part of it here. Part of your past experience is with you in this very life, in the house and the sign where you see Ketu in your chart. Check it out and contemplate it deeply. And this is one of the reasons why Ketu is difficult. Those past life factors have come with you again. You are aware of them, at least subconsciously. You are drawn to those places, drawn to those people. It's like a compulsion. You can't get away because it is all so familiar to you. But here's the dichotomy of Rahu-Ketu axis. Ketu pulls you back into what is familiar, the past, but Rahu says, no, here's your new desire. You're not here for that anymore. You are here for this. So what you were gave you a desire. Hope you get this. What you are now, you have to leave that behind and do something different. That is Rahu. It's not easy, though. It becomes a struggle, especially when other planets are with Ketu. It can get difficult. It can become extremism. Ketu is a very violent graha. He is very like Mangala, fire-led. He becomes angry fast, but he lashes out. He's like a terrorist, virtually. He has no compassion. He will just say, no, I want out of this situation. And he can tend to very extreme violence in some negative charts. This can be seen. Or he's not violent, but he just frees himself from difficult situations in a very impulsive way with no regard for anybody else. That can be seen. You can get yourself isolated. Ketu can just pull you away from this material entanglement fast, and you find yourself alone a bit. You can enjoy isolation if you have positive Ketu, though. It can be actually good for you. That's another thing. Ketu rules locality, local space, community, if you like, but he detaches you from it, whereas Rahu is those foreign places. Strong Ketu, though, you can renounce this whole material situation. Very few people can do it, but he gives the power of absolute detachment and renunciation, like monks, nuns, holy people, saints, people like this. On another level, he is an animal form. He is half of Swabanu snake. So he is connected to non-human beings, particularly actually to dogs. So where dogs come into our life as our pets, you can bet anything Ketu is showing that in your chart. Let's see Ketu then, the last planet to see in Marilyn Monroe's chart. Can you see where Ketu is? Opposite to Rahu? Yes, he's here. Now, it's quite fascinating, this K2 actually, Marilyn Monroe's chart here. Let me just say this. K2 is in the sign of Sagittarius. I've just spoken. It's like a wormhole to past life situation. K2 in Sagittarius shows that there was some battle going on past life, some warlike situation, definitely, because Sagittarius is actually the battlefield itself. I'll explain that K2 will definitely give people from past life situations, from past life, which are continuing. So she was engaged in some battle, war situation. And which house does K2 rule in her chart? He rules 2 houses, of course. Could you point them out, everyone? Yes, he rules the 5th house, where we have Scorpio sign, 8th sign, meaning children, love affairs, creativity. And he rules the 9th house, where we have Pisces, the biological father. We've already discussed, because Jupiter, the other lord, has gone 12th here. She has lost connection to her biological father. But the other father significator is K2, and he's gone into the 6th house. So he's gone 10 houses away. We discussed that can be good. So she finds out who he is. But K2 shows there has to be detachment. And there is quarrel, contention, misunderstanding with him. There is no deep connection, because 6th house is about those things. Clearly, he has a debt towards Marilyn Monroe because he became her biological father, gave her life. But thing is, he doesn't have to go beyond that. He does not have any relationship with her. She has to become detached, as I say, K2. So past life debt from some battle situation. It's a deep karma, but it has now been completed. Now, I've mentioned before in this series, 9th house is pregnancy, female chart. Jupiter's gone 12th, loss of pregnancy. One lord, the other lord, K2, has gone into the house of sickness. She has some condition, some health issue, which is affecting her pregnancies. K2 rules mistakes, I've just discussed, and he's in the house of medical intervention diagnosis. So she gets a misdiagnosis here. At that time, endometriosis was not understood at all. So she didn't get correct treatment, and she became addicted to pharmaceuticals, pills, painkillers, all sorts of stuff to deal with this painful condition. The other interesting factor, love affairs. K2 rules love affairs. He's gone into the 6th house, battle enemies. Her lovers are becoming her enemies. Why are they becoming her enemies? We can see the answer in this chart. Because, yes, K2 is in 6th house, but he's in Sagittarius, past life battle. There's some deep karma here, some past life battle. Her D60 chart, past life, would unpick it all, but that's very advanced. What we can definitely say is she has powerful lovers. We can see it. Why? Because K2 is in an exaltation state. K2 exalts here. We will talk all about this next video. So, powerful lovers who become her enemies. And finally, as I say, K2 is fascinating to predict from in her chart. K2 rules dogs, I've just said, and he's in the house of pets. So she was very attached to her pets. She loved non-humans, and she particularly loved her dogs. Again, Lord of this house, Jupiter has gone into the Dustana tragic house with Mangala violence. So there was some tragedy there as well, unfortunately. For example, when she was in foster care, she had one particular dog she adored, and he was killed by a neighbour. They said he was shot. She later said he was cut up by this neighbour violently. It's a really horrible event. You see, the Lord, Jupiter of pets, has gone into the 8th house of sudden trauma, and he is with Mangala. Mangala is killing violence. So what's going on? Once again, it's this battle situation, past life. Karma with even these dogs is clearly shown there, causing her pain, causing her difficulty. Well, what she said about the dogs in her life, I thought was really interesting, everyone. She said, Dogs never bit me like humans did. Now, an interesting final factor about KETU and dogs, everybody, happening even after she died. When she died, she had a lovely poodle, white poodle called Maff, who she loved, of course, and he was taken on by Frank Sinatra's wife, and he lived a long time there, but suddenly he was killed accidentally, run over by a car. You could say that's got nothing to do with Marilyn Monroe's chart. I would say otherwise. And finally, very importantly, you should learn and understand results of all the planets, grahas, in every sign individually and every house. This will assist learning. You have to understand differences by sign and house. So check out the videos on my channel. Planetary karmas, all signs, and house position playlists are also there. The links are below for you. Next lesson, moving on to the strength and the weaknesses of the planets in your chart. Exalted, debilitated, retrograde, so much to look at. If you're new to my channel, of course, don't forget to sub below. Goodbye for now, and God bless everyone.